Next on the SHMEE Show, we have our special guest. He's a pop star on the rise, and he kind of gets some credit for being one of the reasons this show even exists. Take a look. Will J is a pop star on the rise. Once a member of the boy band IM5, Will has been a solo artist for years, infiltrating the music industry. He describes his sound as pop with a sense of humor and a unique perspective on young adulthood. The music off his latest album, Perfectionist, has been streamed over 10 million times, and he has over 300,000 monthly Spotify listeners. With an ever-growing audience and new music always on the horizon, he says he strives to redefine what it means to be a man in today's crazy world. With over 200,000 followers on social media combined, I'd say he's doing just that. Welcome to the SHMEE Show, Will J!
Hi! So happy to be here.
Thank you so fucking much for coming on the SHMEE Show.
Absolutely. No, this is, it's so cool I'm so happy for you that you're doing this show, and I'm so happy that my art, in a small way, inspired someone else to kind of pursue what they want to do.
But isn't that the whole point? Isn't that the point of art, you know?
It absolutely
is.
Think
about it?
Absolutely. Chain reaction.
So I have to ask right off the bat, because I want people to know where you are, because I thought it was really cool right when we hopped on. Where are you right now?
I'm currently actually at my friend Keaton's studio, who's producing a lot of my next music that is coming out.
Nice.
And hence the kind of dim lighting. But it's all good. We're making it work. But I'm very, very excited.
Yeah, I'm excited. So you just released a new song 2 weeks ago now.
Yes.
Glory Days, right?
Yes.
I love it. I
Thank you.
am a very nostalgic person. So lately, a lot of your music has been about your nostalgia of your childhood and your youth. I want to ask right off the bat, where are you in your life right now that's becoming an inspiration for a lot of your new music?
Well, I think I've kind of over the last year or so had time to kind of sit with myself and ask myself those harder questions, I think, as we all do. And I think a big question for me is, where did I don't know if you know anything about like the inner child work. If it's basically you kind of reconnect with your younger self before that you got jaded, before you kind of got, the world kind of made you, I don't know, dimmed your light a little bit. And I think having a lot of time to myself, I've kind of really tried to get back in touch with why I make music in the first place and why, and I think about that 11-year-old kid that was like so, shameless and would go up to anybody and sing for anybody and play my songs for anybody. And I'm not saying that I'm so far away removed from that, but I definitely kind of retreated inward as the years went on. And so to answer your question, I think being in that world of reconnecting with who I used to be in my past, I think it's brought up a lot of feelings of nostalgia about, looking around and feeling like the world looks a little different than it used to, and, missing people from my past. And so, I don't know, maybe it's just me being also super nostalgic.
Yeah, because it's definitely a 180 from the music that's on Perfectionist, which is your latest album. A lot of dark undertones.
Yes.
But with that Will J joyful pop essence that is one of the reasons why everyone loves you, which was nice,
Thanks. Yeah, no, it's interesting. I listened to, honestly, after you reached out to me, I kind of, I went on a walk and I listened to Perfectionist, and it's pretty wild to not feel like that anymore. I don't know. It was very cathartic for me to make that. I was going through a lot at the time, and I think that album outlines it perfectly, kind of all the different facets of my anxiety that were kind of coming to the surface. And it's interesting to create from a place now that of joy and of happiness. I think I very much bought into the misconception that you can only create from a place of darkness or sadness to make art that's compelling.
Yeah.
And it's been interesting juxtaposing that with now, and my next project that I'm working on is definitely still going to have both. It's definitely going to still have the highs and the lows, because I think I am just an observer of the human experience, and I don't think anybody has just a happy or just a sad experience.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's been interesting to kind of play with light and darkness, as opposed to Perfectionist, which was mainly darkness. Through darkness only comes light. So it's, it's all necessary and it's all beautiful at the end of the day, but it was definitely some darkness.
Yeah. Well, as you were saying that, I laughed at that tweet you made the other day when you revisited Perfectionist. You said, "Damn, I really did that." I'm like, "Yeah, you did that. You did that."
No, it's it's pretty amazing. I almost feel like that tweet. It's funny. Yeah, I mean, I definitely was giving myself a pat on the back, but it also was an interesting complex to feel like I don't feel like that person anymore. I don't think I can make that music again, even if I wanted to. And it's, I'm sure a lot of artists feel that way, and I'm sure you can relate. Anybody, you look at something you did in the past, your past work, and it's like, whoa, I was in a completely different headspace, a completely different person. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So before we get too carried away, in your own words, who is Will J?
Ooh, that's a loaded question. I think I am curious. I think I'm somebody that is constantly questioning things and observing things. I think that's why I love songwriting so much. I've always kind of existed in this place of duality where I kind of I'm in the moment, but I'm also observing it at the same time, if that makes sense.
Okay.
And I'm
yeah.
very much, that's why I'm so introverted and shy. And I've come out of my shell a lot, but for years and years and years, I was so introverted because I felt like I was in my own head, literally watching my own life as opposed to living it.
Okay.
But now I'm a lot more in my body and a lot more present, but I still feel that curiosity. And that observer effect where it's like I'm constantly looking around and looking up and down and left and right everywhere, and turning over no stone unturned, I guess. I just want to, and through music as my medium, as my the way I express myself, I want to cover everything. I want to cover every possible facet of emotions, of experiences, of people, whatever it is. So yeah, I would say that's the main adjective to describe me, would be curious, for sure.
I love that. That's a great, I mean, again, as someone who's been watching your career, I feel like that perfectly defines you, because
I'm glad.
When I first discovered you, I would say it was 2018, and it was Never Been in Love. And it just came up on Spotify. I remember it just randomly played on Spotify, and I was like, this shit's good. I was like, what is this? Who is this? Like, this shit's good. And then, that's when it started coming. And then I remember there was this gap of time where you really weren't releasing a lot of new music. Yeah. And then I always tell any music artist that I had the chance to talk to, like you or even a friend, that I believe music finds you when you really need it.
Absolutely.
Like, I found your album almost a year after it came out, which is insane because I've been a fan of you. There just must have been a reason why I was not supposed to listen to Perfectionist a year ago.
Yeah.
And it's funny because one of the first lines off of Lies in Perfectionist is, I said I'd never been in love, but I have, that was a lie.
Yeah.
So I want to dive into that really quick. Is your album Perfectionist has a lot of these dark undertones, but in a way, it's you looking at yourself in a mirror and reevaluating parts of life that you do not like, and also kind of just saying fuck my ego, because this ego is clearly getting in my way.
Yes, it always does.
To you, what was that process like, and how did you decide the track list? And like, this is it. This is Perfectionist.
Yeah, it was. First of all, I appreciate that. It's it means a lot to hear you say that, because I think nobody will ever think that their album is done or finished. You just kind of have to decide at some point that it's done, and to me I just kind of got to a place where it was like, all right, I think I don't feel like there's more to talk about. at least in this iteration of who I am and how I want to present myself to the world. But to answer your question, yeah, the track list was definitely a process, and there were definitely songs that came at the very, very end. There were songs, By Now was out, but I felt like that heartbreak of feeling like you're not where you thought you would be very well ties into, I think, the main root of perfectionism, which is basically that, which is feeling like a failure, feeling average, feeling like you didn't measure up to the expectations or your potential that you had as a kid. And yeah, it was interesting too. I'd written probably 2/3 of the album before it all kind of made sense in my brain that it all is that the title Perfectionist came to be. I was just I knew I wanted to tap into, especially after writing Lies, I was like, okay, I think it'll be fun to kind of offer people a very transparent look in how my brain kind of operates and the facets of my anxiety and why maybe I'm not happy, a happy person. At the time, I definitely, have come a long way since then. And then it's interesting too. So for example, I don't think I've ever actually shared this. Talking to Myself was like not even on my radar as a song that I wanted to put on that album at all.
Really?
I'd written that song maybe 2 years ago, and I really liked the song. It was cool, but it felt, everything else was so heavy that it just felt like it didn't work. I didn't really think about how, I think a great body of work has the highs and the lows. I was very much like, I want it all to be dark. I want it to be anxiety inducing. I want it to be a trip. And then, very last minute, I forget who it was that inspired me to put it on it, but I did. And it's since, I think, become a song that a lot of people really
I'm obsessed.
gravitated towards. Yeah.
So
I'm really happy I did, because it was very almost not a part of it. So
I would have been sad knowing that, because it's one of the songs that I feel like in that album too, in the track list, it gives you like a little breath of like, okay, I can breathe for a minute.
Yeah. Exactly.
And then you're like, now we're going to talk about my body dysmorphia.
You need the one moment.
Yeah. Okay. So when as a child did you decide to yourself that this is what you're going to do? That I'm not going to go work a 9 to 5. I know my parents are probably going to tell me, Will, this is an awful, brutal industry.
Yeah.
That you just said, it doesn't matter what. If I fail or lose, I have to do this to know that I'm living the life that I want to live.
I think I was 4 or 5. I actually have a very visceral memory of watching. Did you ever see the NSYNC performance of the VMAs where they had the big screens with their faces on it?
Of course, yeah, that's iconic.
Yeah, so I remember watching that performance and being like, I want to do that. And so
you kind of did. You kind of had that
I did. I kind of did. You know what's so funny, too, is that I never got to meet him, but Joey Fatone's daughter was a fan of my old boy band. And so it was very much like a...
okay.
I'm still friends, actually, with a couple of the girls that kind of ran our fan club. Or like, well, not fan club, but like we're kind of fans, but they went above and beyond. And, I consider them friends now. And she was one of them was telling me that Joey Fatone's daughter was a fan of us. And I died at that. I thought that was so funny.
I bet. It's like that 2-degree separation. You're like,
literally.
So close. Yeah.
It was
almost like
awesome.
The universe was like nodding to you, like, well, you're doing this. Like I can't give you NSYNC. We can give you someone affiliated with NSYNC.
It was such an amazing experience. I actually got lunch yesterday with our old vocal coach, who I haven't seen in 5 years, and just like taking a walk down memory lane. It was such a fun, unique experience that I'm just unbelievably grateful that I had.
Let's talk about that, because I don't know enough about that chapter of your life, but it's funny when I go back and I do research. I'm like, oh yeah, I knew their music. I knew your music. I was like, there was the iconic video with Todrick when you guys did Disney Boys.
That's that's the claim to fame, which I'm obsessed with.
2013? Was that 2013?
2013, yeah.
2013, yeah, which is like that insane. Was that 8 years ago now?
I know. Don't even say that out loud. Yeah, it was such a so interesting because I think it kind of marked it to me. It marks a shift in, I feel like, the human experience in the sense that it was kind of the beginning of the birth of social media.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You know, I got an Instagram because of that band, and people around me were starting to get, you know, I feel like Instagram and Twitter were both kind of a thing. It was still not a big thing. I don't know.
It wasn't. No, because there wasn't influencers back then.
Yeah. So it is just crazy to think about how much of my life is documented on the internet and will always be there. The good and the bad, you know,
Yeah.
not thankfully a lot more good than bad, you know. I, again, am so grateful to have had the experience to do what I love at such a young age. You know, I got to record and write with amazing writers and producers, and I got to tour, and I got to have develop a fan base and do photo shoot, like all of the, you know, different aspects of being a recording artist. I got that experience, and so few people get that period. So I am incredibly grateful for that. But at the same time, I think, you know, it's interesting. There is such a correlation between that time in my life and Perfectionist, because it was the fuel for so much of my perfectionism. Because it's like, here, you're given this golden opportunity at such a young age, and then when it's over, you kind of are left with this, well, what do I do now? Is that the only shot I'm going to get? Is that it? You know? And for a long time, I kind of had to unravel that thought that that was going to be it.
Did you leave willingly?
Sorry?
Did you leave the band willingly? Or was that on your
Oh, yeah. No, it was
okay.
it was no issues, no. I turned 18 and I was like, I've been in this group since I was 13 years old. You know, it was time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was just time for me to.
Okay.
Long time.
Wow. Yeah.
And I started writing my own songs too around that age, and so it just felt like the right thing to do. And yeah, it's interesting. I really have not made that parallel until now. But I really feel like, what, as amazing of an opportunity as it was, and I think anybody who starts really young in the industry will tell you, you get jaded very quickly, and you kind of, it's so, you know, it's one thing to get to the, I'm not even saying we got to the top, but it's one thing to get to a certain level. It's another thing to stay there. And when you feel yourself naturally kind of slipping off, for whatever reason, you know, I was a solo artist now. I didn't have the band. I was left on my own, literally on my own. I had a manager, but that was it. And to go from being literally handed so much to having to fight for shit, I was like, maybe I am not
like as strong as you thought you were.
As strong, and as well as maybe destined.
Did you feel less talented? Or
no, it was never a I never questioned talent, and I never questioned my drive to do it. I just think, yeah, you know, you kind of ride this wave, you kind of of momentum, trajectory, whatever, and when it kind of doesn't go the way you want, you can't help but take it personally. You can't help but feel like, maybe I did something, or I didn't do something. And
very relatable.
I mean, by now that was the product of that time in my life, where it was just like, I've been doing this shit for a long ass time, and I'm looking around at kids my age who are just fresh out of college, just starting their careers. And again, so grateful that I got to start young, but I'm looking at them and they're getting, you know, they're making advancements in their career so much faster than I did. And it's like, well, shit, shouldn't I, after all the work and time that I've put in, like, shouldn't I be experiencing those same highs too? Yeah. It took a long time. It took a really, really long time to just find my worth again, you know, and my value as a human being, aside from what I'm doing career-wise, or what I'm, you know, the success that I'm experiencing. Because, yeah,
important for you to share that for people.
Absolutely.
Who look at you and think that you have every day you wake up in this good mindset, and that's not real at all. Everyone, yeah. But so transition, because it's perfect that you brought this up, is speaking of your jadedness of the industry.
Yeah.
So back in 2017, you released your single "Leading Man"
Mm-hmm.
out of your frustration towards the whitewashed casting in Hollywood. So that was 4 years ago. What was a moment back then that you decided that this was an important song and video for you to create? And do you feel like since that moment, casting in Hollywood is being more favorable to Asian and I guess other people that aren't white?
It's really interesting to see how much has changed in 4 years. And it feels like not that long ago, but also a long time ago. I mean,
Yeah.
I am in a completely different headspace than I was in 2017. It's so funny. I was actually watching the Leading Man video with a couple of my, a few friends we were actually celebrating Glory Days, the song I just put out. And none of them had ever seen the Leading Man video.
Oh.
And they were all just like, who are you? Because they've never seen me. Because, you know, if you've seen the video, like, you know, I'm dancing and then I have a whole, it's like a borderline, like, political, like,
Oh yeah.
statement that I made.
You get white
really,
face. Yeah.
No,
yeah.
literally. Like, I was on some shit. And I love it. You know, what is art if it isn't bold? But, yeah, I was so annoyed with the industry at that time, and leaving that group, I was one of 5, and so I was very not aware of the prejudice and kind of stereotyping. I don't. It's not, racism is a strong word. It was just more so exclusion. I take it as exclusion. I take it as prejudice, and I take it as whitewashing at the time. That's what it was. It was Scarlett Johansson being an Asian woman. It's like,
or even Matt Damon in the Great Wall. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, no, the white savior is is a thing. But to your point, like it's really come a long way, and I think I am definitely hopeful for the future. I think now it needs to trickle into music. I see so few Asian Americans in the West, in the music industry, like really succeeding. And it's interesting. There's definitely a few now. You have Olivia Rodrigo, you have Rina Sawayama, you have
I was just
Diva
gonna bring up
Doobie.
Rina. Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
my God, queen.
Fucking love Rina.
You have Conan Gray. You have these kind of you have people that I can look to, and I'm like, oh shit. And like even lesser known artists that there are definitely some that are just popping up, and it's incredible to watch. However, there just are very few. There aren't many more than the few that I mentioned that are really doing it and really making an impact. And I don't think there's a lack of talented Asian artists out there. I think it's the record labels. It's the industry who hasn't really kind of changed their tune, I guess. And you have BTS, who is undeniably the biggest group in the world, and Blackpink, who are also... So you can't use that excuse anymore. I actually have been told many times in my career that it's like, oh, maybe you should start in Asia. Like, I don't think I see that. I don't see it for you here, like right now. What the fuck? And I know your face says it all, but it's shocking to anybody who isn't.
Imagine.
Yeah. And that was only 6 years ago. So, change is slow and progress is slow sometimes. But listen, I am in this shit for the long haul. And it's exciting. It's exciting to see people finally giving Asian artists a chance. And, if I can be a small part of that movement, then I succeeded and I did my job. And I know I already have, but I want to do it as much as possible.
Yeah, totally. I'm biased, but I think so. Yeah.
I appreciate that.
let's talk about your songs, your music. So before we dive into the 3 singles that we're going to listen to, of all of your songs that you've written, what is your favorite? And the twist is, what's your least favorite and why?
Okay. I can't say that my favorite song is actually the song that I'm working on today, but from released ones, okay. I would probably say By Now. I think By Now is the closest that I felt to true alignment with the song and where I was at that time, and like the marriage of that. I feel like, you know, as a song like Lies would outline, I have kind of felt this disconnect at times. I felt like who I am as a person and my stories and my truth isn't interesting enough in the context of a pop song that people can digest and relate to and love. And By Now was kind of scary for me because it was very autobiographical. There was no escapism there. There was no like, let me turn this into pretty language. Like, it was just like, this is what I went through. And the reaction that got from not just people like in the internet, but from people that I know and work with, who I respect, it kind of shifted my perspective on what I'm capable of and the kind of music I want to make and the kind of emotion that I want to invoke in people. So that's definitely my favorite. And my least favorite absolutely is the first song I ever put out as a solo artist called Anti-Social Media.
Wait, I don't know that one. How do I not know?
You shouldn't. You're not missing out, honestly. It's it just... I think it was a combination of things. I paid way too much for a video that looked not what I paid for.
Is this on YouTube?
I took it down, unfortunately.
Oh, okay.
Unfortunately for me.
I don't feel like
unfortunately for you or the 3 people that might want to watch that video. And yeah, the song just wasn't. I don't want to say it's not a bad song at all. It's just not. It felt like the song just feels like a PSA more than a song. Like, it's like,
I see.
It's like, you know, let's disconnect from the internet. Like, it's just so not what I'm about. And also I do like social media. So it just felt, there's many, on many levels, not the jam. Yeah. But yeah, I've never gotten asked that before. That's so fun.
That's funny. Okay, cool. So let's hop into listening to the first verse and chorus of 3 songs. We are going to be listening to Lies, By Now, and your newest single, Glory Days. Okay, so the first song we're going to listen to is Lies. Will J, what is Lies?
What is Lies? Lies is, you know, just super easy listening if you just feel like, you know, just going on a walk and you're feeling good about who you are and no.
Lies. Lie.
Got you. Lies is, I guess, kind of the unraveling of the persona that I was trying to put on for years. You know, I wanted to kind of let people in on, I guess, the anxiety that I had felt to present myself in a certain way and to write about only a small group of topics that I felt were relatable and, you know, approachable. And I was still shaking off the persona that I had created being an IM5 of this, like, always smiling, you know, I'm happy and everything's great. And, and that a lot of times was a completely fabricated, you know, not saying that I wasn't happy, but it was very much, I need to put on a character because that's what people like, what I thought people would like. And so I guess Lies is kind of me admitting to myself that I have been lying in certain aspects, and not just in that, but in my daily life. It was hard for me to kind of be honest with people, never in a malicious way, but just I felt unsure and insecure with who I was. And so by nature of that, I'm not going to be 100% honest because I was afraid of how people would perceive me, like the real version of me.
No. All right, so let's take a listen to Lies.
It kinda started out as a joke. I didn't go to college, what would I know about student loans? Just wanted you all to relate to me. Most of my songs aren't true. I faked heartbreak, I didn't go through. Even when I told you I'd never been in love, I already was. Just wanted you all to relate to me. I don't mean to mislead you, I promise. So uncomfortable being dishonest. And I think I just realized I would say anything to come off a little more interesting. That's why I tell lie, 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 lies. Lie, 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 lies. Lie, 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 lies. Lie, 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 lie.
So yeah, what is your favorite part about Lies? Whether it's your favorite lyric, part of the production, anything listening back that resonates, just like one takeaway from listening to that.
You know, I actually really like a lot of different things about that song. I think obviously the first verse and kind of how I kind of shed the version of myself that I think people had thought I was up until that point. It was a cool thing artistically for me to do. It kind of has opened up a world for me to explore in terms of subject matter, in terms of just everything, really. I remember playing that song for a friend of mine, and he said the production sounded like a transformer. And I was like, I'm kind of into that. Like, especially, I think in the chorus where it's like, dun, 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 like it's kind of like a robot kind of like assembling.
Yeah.
And I honestly, like you, I never would have thought of that in a million years. But
I'm like, okay.
yeah. But yeah, I really think that song, to this day, it's definitely one of a lot of people's favorites of mine. And I think it's just cool that similarly to By Now, I'm like kind of bearing my soul in a way that I was very nervous to do and very apprehensive of at first. And so for it to be well received, and obviously numbers don't matter, but I'm more talking in terms of people, the messages that I got after putting out that song. Similarly to By Now, it was like, oh wow, this kind of connection is what I'm about. Like to make music that really stops people in their tracks. And
totally. I have to tell you really quick before I forget. So the reason why I picked that song off of Perfectionist was because when I told my friends that I was going to be interviewing you, my one friend Nick, he knew of you, but he's like, send me his latest album. And he's a very joyful person, never has much like drama, you know? And
What's
so
that
when
like?
he like listened to he listened, I know, literally. So he listened to the whole album and he goes, I'll be honest, Sam, I didn't really resonate because it was all like, you know, it's dark and sad. He's like, but for Will to be like an indie artist, but have that kind of production on the entire album, he's like, that was the most insane production from a small artist he's like, I've ever heard. Yeah. So props to you for that. So
well, props to the producers that worked on the, you know, it's mostly all my really good friends. And so, I'm very fortunate to be surrounded by incredibly talented people. So that's great. Awesome.
Okay, so next song, which is also very sad, but it might be my favorite song of yours. We've been teasing it for 30 minutes now, is By Now.
Yep.
And I don't think we need to explain what By Now is because we've already talked about it many times.
Yeah.
So let's just dive right in and listen to By Now.
Let's get...
and we'll try not to cry.
Let's get a little existential up in here.
I don't talk to anyone from high school 'cause I dropped out freshman year. Signed a record deal and made an album no one's ever gonna hear. Now they've all graduated college. I never left the studio. Memories of half my life are missing. I still haven't written anything, you know. But I'll keep breaking my own heart and finding ways to make it out. I'm still not where I wanna be. So what more do you want from me? I should have been somebody by now. I should have been somebody by now. Not a damn thing's changed. Another year goes by, no one knows my name. Well, I should have been somebody.
Whew.
Damn.
All right, let me stop that before we get into like the second verse, which gets deep.
Yeah, no, it's so interesting because, like I said, I'm not really in that headspace anymore. I found a lot of. I feel successful for the first time in my life, which is pretty crazy to say because I just spent so long really thinking that I not failed, but that I didn't measure up to what I expected. And I think a lot of people resonate with that, and I think that's why that song is so special to me. Is I detailed my experience as a musician who's been at this since I was a teenager, and going through that comment section of that video, and people coming up to me in real life, and my friends and family talking about ways that they feel like they didn't measure up, or ways that they feel like their life took a turn in a way that felt disappointing or didn't feel like what they wanted. It was really eye-opening for me. So, yeah, I think that'll always be, if not my favorite song, it'll always be in the top 5.
Yeah.
'Cause,
So I need to tell you now
Okay.
that we just listened to it, how that song changed my life. So it was 3 months ago. I had been working at a production studio for 3.5 years. I've been a video editor, a professional video editor for most of my life. And I took it to the next step, and I was working 9 to 5. And when I joined it, I signed contracts that I thought were the right contracts to sign, that I would be making good money and making a good living. And my boss for years just played with my head and got me in this space of, without me, you will be nothing. You'll never be successful outside of this studio. If it wasn't for me, you wouldn't have the career you have. And for years, he would beat me down because he knew the light that was inside of me. Like, he knew if Sam steps out of this, he's going to be successful, but I want that here. So instead of watering that and growing it, he was like, let me chop down that tree, which is stupid. But so it was 3 months ago, and I had been putting so much money into starting my own LLC and starting my own company, and nothing was taking off. And I was getting super depressed, and I moved into a new city trying to, think maybe being around creative people will help me, and nothing was working. And I remember there was the week that I discovered Perfectionist, and I remember I got in this huge fight with a friend, and I felt like everything in my life was starting to just fall apart. Like everything that I was trying to do just wasn't working. And that song came to me, and it came on the track list, and I got to it. I remember standing right in this window right here, looking out, listening to it. And I just sobbed. I remember standing in that window, and I just sobbed because, especially the part where you talk about your dad being sick and you're like, I can't miss another fucking show. I never see my dad. He lives in Colorado, but my entire life, my parents have been divorced, and I see my dad maybe once a year if I'm lucky. Yeah. And I've always told myself, everything I do in my life, I want to do to make my dad proud. Like, I wear the necklace he gave me when I was 5 years old, and it says, Sam, I love you, Dad, on the back. So hearing that line, I remember in that window, I said, fuck this. I'm going to do anything I can to make my life have a purpose. And I looked around, and I thought, I have a microphone. For a living, I interview people in a different setting. Yeah. And I like being on camera. So fuck it. I'm starting my own talk show. So who's going to give me permission? No one. I'm just going to do it myself. Absolutely. And that was it. And I listened to that song today on my walk, and it's funny, same thing. I was expecting to be like, oh, I'm like, no, because in 3 months, my entire life has turned upside down. I quit my day job. I'm working for myself. I have amazing clients, and I'm interviewing the person who was the beginning of all this. So by now, I'm better,
Wow. To me, it's like hearing you share all that is like, that song could have been heard by 10 people, and it's like, well,
Yeah.
I did what it had. It did what it had to do. You know,
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm kind of speechless right now. That's pretty amazing. And yeah, look at you now. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But I got out of that awful space and said, fuck all of that negative noise. I'm making a purpose for my life. So yeah. So there's that. So.
Well, that's amazing. I mean, and listen, I mean, that's where magic happens, when you kind of open yourself up to the possibility of it existing. That's when it happens. Literally when it happens.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
You know, and it's so funny too, like that song, you know, so much of it came from a place of, oh God, the industry doesn't know I exist. And then I put out that song, and then like, I was just getting hit up constantly by people.
Yeah.
And like, I actually, and a lot of amazing opportunities came from that song. And so it's just so funny. A song about feeling like I have no opportunities presented opportunities for it. And so it's amazing what music can do. It's just so, it's wild.
Okay, so let's take it up a notch and let's listen to Glory Days.
Great.
Which is
something happy. Let's do it.
A
Well,
literal bop.
bittersweet, but still.
Well, yeah.
Happier.
All right, let's listen to Glory Days. Yeah, exactly. Happier.
I've been thinking a lot about the 7th grade. We were blasting Dr. Dre. Da 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 da. Reminiscing, no responsibilities, tearing up our skinny jeans. We thought we were the coolest shit ever. Did some stupid shit together. Nights we got wasted, jumping the lake, man. It's been forever. After all this time, now and then you cross my mind. I tried calling them, I guess your number changed. Memories I have, part of me wants to go back, but some things are just too good to recreate. Those were the glory days.
Such a change of pace.
Yeah, I love that song. It's it just makes me feel like warm, and that song came from kind of what I was talking about earlier. Just came from a place of just light, I guess, like a lighter feeling than so much of the other stuff did. So yeah,
I have to ask though, because I know you're friends with Jordy. That sounds so similar to his music. Have you produced music for him, or was it just you guys work with the same people?
So fun fact, did you know that I actually co-wrote some of his earlier stuff?
No.
Okay. So I co-wrote Just Friends with him.
That's one of my favorite songs by him. No way.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
No, and
awesome.
we were actually roommates. It's so wild. Such a small world.
Wait, when? Like how long ago?
2017 and 2018.
Oh, okay.
So
God, that makes so much sense.
Such a
Fun.
small
Okay,
world.
cool.
But yeah, no, he's he does that happier pop
so
music
fun.
so well. But yeah, no, your question was if we work with the same people. Yeah, Johnny Shore produced that song, and he's done some stuff for Jordy too. So it's a small world out here in Los Angeles.
I mean, obviously, people just gravitate to the right energy.
Yeah.
Outside of music, what brings you joy?
A lot of things. I really love. My mom's a librarian, so I really love reading and books and just literature.
Sick.
And yeah.
Fun. Okay. What's your favorite book? Like off the cuff.
Favorite book. Oh, that's so funny because I now have the immediate favorite movie and favorite song answer. Favorite book. Probably The Alchemist. Have you ever read that?
No, I know of it. I've never read it though.
That's a pretty game-changing book. Well, just kind of taps
funny.
into just that we're magical as human beings and that anything is possible. You were saying?
Well, it's funny. Whenever anyone brings that book up, it makes you think of the anime, The Full Metal Alchemist, which is nothing like... Because that's like my favorite anime. So whenever everyone's like, The Alchemist, I'm like, The Full Metal? They're like, no. I'm like,
got it. I need to write that down. Full Metal Alchemist?
Yeah. Oh, it's so good.
Really?
Oh my God. It's like a story. It's so fucking good. So off topic, but like anyone out there, Full Metal Alchemist is like top tier. And there's two versions. I'll have to send you the right version, because there was
Okay.
one that goes by the comics. And there's one that doesn't. You have to definitely do the one that is to
By the
to
comic.
comics. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Good to know.
But yeah. Okay. So final question before we close
Okay.
out.
Yeah.
What is one thing in your career that you've been manifesting that has not happened yet, but you hope to happen soon?
I would say really amazing live shows. Because I haven't really, in my time as a solo artist, really had the opportunity to do a lot of that.
Yeah, which I think is crazy.
Yeah, it's, it's fine. I kind of surrender to, the right timing, and I know that I'm certainly putting the energy out there for it to happen, and I'm focusing on what I can control, and I know that it'll happen. But yeah, that's definitely the main thing that I dream about, is just touring and, playing festivals and just getting to, because that's the real aspect of being a musician and being a singer-songwriter, is when you get to see the people in the crowd and the real faces. And it's not the numbers, and it's not the likes, and it's not the people in a boardroom telling you what to do, or the,
Never.
that isn't the real shit. And that's not what fuels me. What fuels me is feeling like I am making a connection with people and getting to be, a small part of maybe the soundtrack to their lives. I love, that's the kind of way I like to phrase it. And your story that you shared about how By Now impacted you and at the time that you needed it to, it's like, I would love to be that for as many people as possible that will, receive my music and listen to it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on the SHMEE Show. Is there any last takeaways you want to tell the audience?
First of all, thank you so much for having me. This was really, I had more fun doing this than I probably have maybe ever done an interview, just because I feel like, I don't know, it felt like I don't know. It was really in depth, and it was really like,
oh, thank you.
It's nice to feel like you're understanding where I'm coming from. It isn't these kind of blanket questions of like, what's next,
Music,
like tell us about your single, it's so much of it is so, so I really appreciate that. But yeah, I think the biggest takeaway is just, I'm going to continue to put out music. I'm going to continue to push myself and challenge myself to tackle a new aspect of being a human being. And hopefully if you want to be a witness to that, or be a, engage, you're more than welcome to. I definitely, I hope that this next version of myself will be even better than how people see me now. And not even better or in sense of like I'm trying to compete with myself, but I definitely think that I find myself today as a human being evolving, and I think the music reflects that, and I hope that people will want to evolve with me. I guess that's the main takeaway.
Yeah. All right. Well, tell people where they can find your music and plug it all.
Everywhere, internet, Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube, anywhere that has music, I think it's there. So
yeah. All right. Sweet. Have a great rest of your day, Will. Thank you so much again, and I will talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
Bye.